And you're live.
Good morning, Summa scholars. All right, today is Tuesday, February 11th, the fifth week in Ordinary Time. And it is also, Joe, the memorial of Our Lady of Lourdes. Did you know that?
I did know that.
You did know that. That's
Yep.
because you do the
Surprised you,
divine
didn't I?
office.
I surprised you,
No,
didn't
I
I?
guess I shouldn't have been surprised because I know you do morning prayer. And they tell you those things in that faith. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna have a cheat code.
It's kind of a cheat code, bro. That's what happens when you pray. I encourage all of you watching to look into doing lauds and morning prayer, and we can talk more about that some of the day, some of the time.
I always
Anyway,
thought that praying was good.
praying's good. Pray good. That's what Thomas say. Thomas say pray good. um, before we get going, and I will talk about Dallas the donkey. Apparently, people have been asking questions. I'll talk a little bit more and flesh that out some more. But let me just say, I want to see more. If you guys could please just do us the favor of liking it and making a comment, liking the thing. It doesn't cost anything for you, and it helps us shoot that algorithm out to more people. And a comment can be just like nice or thanks or that was funny or great. Doesn't matter. Or it can be a negative, evil comment. You can be like, that dude looks stupid. Why is he wearing a hobo gloves on his hands? This guy doesn't know nothing. Those are perfect because those comments will help the algorithm push it out to more people. So, isn't that right, Joe?
That's right. Amen.
Amen. We need help here getting this thing out off the ground so that Joe can afford coffee and, you know, so I can put cheese on my Whataburgers. That
Mary Kate's
phrase,
always
pretty,
making fun of that phrase, by the way.
who is?
Mary Kate.
That phrase comes from a movie that I was in with Hank Shima and Johnny Falstaff. And I will not mention the movie because it is, for some sensitive viewers, for some sensitive viewers, it might be way too much. But in that movie, John Evans brilliantly uses that line. I think it was an ad lib at the thing. It's a movie about a record company and the devil's trying to trick people into getting into it. And anyway, John Evans is sitting there with Hank on a pier in Texas fishing, and he's trying to talk him into entering this record company, this nefarious record company. And he says, "Yeah, man, come on, we can get you this and the money, this stuff, and all the things, and you'll finally be able to put cheese on your Whataburgers." Because he's a broke musician.
Hmm.
So that is, I'm glad that Mary Kate loves that phrase because so do I. That was John Evans. I love to give credit to my friends for their intellectual
Yeah,
property.
of course.
Um, what else can I say? Oh, Dallas. Okay, so before we get into divine simplicity in today's Summa page, and also remember, Joe, at some point we want chapter breaks so people that
Yeah, I just did that yesterday, but yeah, totally, dude.
these madhouse crazy people who want to skip our witty banter and go straight into Thomas, you know.
Yeah, I did implement that yesterday, but if you're not paying attention, that's cool. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
You know what? I probably watched the video just after it was uploaded while I was having my morning pipe, and I didn't see that.
Ah, I see. I see.
But I'm always paying attention to everything you do, Joe.
I see.
Just like Mary Kate, I'm wrapped in attention uh,
Mm.
of Joe's doings, saying. Let's talk about Dallas, the donkey, the poor donkey that left our world. Essentially, the ground was extremely slick and frozen. And already, Dallas was very, very old. The other horses are relatively young. Dallas was, and Joe, I'm sure you chomping at the bit to have some kind of Dallas Craig joke here in reference to, uh, and I'd love to hear your extraordinary wit in that regard if you have anything, but you certainly don't need to. But Dallas was already old, like older than me, like he's an old dude. And he was not long for this world anyway. As you saw him walking here, very slow. Well, apparently, what happened? And it was really a kiss from God that things worked out that way, because usually I don't go up to the paddock very early in the morning, but it was Sunday. And so I was going to try to get to Divine Liturgy or Mass, but really Divine Liturgy. And um, it was too slick. I couldn't get out of the property. That slope that goes down into the main road, I can't see where if there's a vehicle coming. And if I slid, I would just slide out into the main road, not knowing if a car was coming. So I was stuck and couldn't go to Mass, couldn't go to church. So I decided, well, I'm right here because I'd parked the vehicle up further. I'm right here. I might as well just go check on the animals. And I never do that. So that was a mercy for God, from God, for that poor animal, because I think it had just happened. The wound was fresh. It looks like I wasn't there. I got there right after it happened, I think. But it looks like there's a feeding trough there, and it looks like Dallas slipped in his old age and unstable feet, legs, and the super slick ice. As you know, I fell the other day, and you almost fell a couple times um, when you were here. I think it looks like his back legs just went out from under him, and the front of his hips hit the trough, and then he fell over sideways and could
Ugh,
not get back up. And once an animal like that falls over sideways and can't get up, it's not long for this world. And with it being so cold, and of course I couldn't move him, I put some food in front of him just to give him a little consolation, but he couldn't move. And then I went to go get help, and when I came back, he's like hardly even conscious. So he's just expiring there. I guess in a sense, it was a merciful way out. It happened relatively quick, it seems. And it's just like he kind of started going to sleep or whatever. But that's the
right.
story of Dallas, and for the people who were asking. Is that sufficient, Joe?
Seems sufficient to me.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about showing that video. Maybe I'll do it just to see how it looks on the screen. I was going to show a little of that video we watched on the retreat, dude. Remember the awesome retreat?
Right. Yep.
That's when we first really got to know each other. Started
That was
to.
good. That was a good one, dude.
It was a good one, dude. By the way, in the future, there will be retreats. There'll be this retreat that I gave them on mysticism and monasticism in gaming and game theory. But then also, I could do a retreat on mysticism, or actually monastic life order, um, putting your life in order according to monastic principles. I could do a retreat on that. So these retreats, was it not amazing, Joe? If
It
I
was
can get you
incredible,
to,
man.
yeah, dude. I mean, we could go
And
into detail,
I
but
can wax more on it if you want, but
well,
yeah.
we can do that some other time. We've already talked enough. But the point being, just put it in your minds that we can do retreats at some point, and depending on where we do it would be how much it would cost. I mean, if we did it at a place that didn't cost a lot, it wouldn't cost as much. But if we did it at some people I know, I've seen these new age people. I follow a poet named Yane Robinson. She's awesome. Um, and she will give like these life retreats or whatever. I don't know. She's not Christian, so I don't know what the term is for the world philosophy of it. Doesn't matter. She'll fly these people to like Acapulco or something, and they'll do these retreats, So it's like 3 grand or more because they're flying somewhere else. But that would be cool someday if we can get people to go to some cool place like Lords. Ooh, go to Lords, or go to
Ooh.
Medjugorje, or go to what would be another amazing? Oh, go to like Monte Cassino, or the place in Paris where Thomas taught, something like that, or Lisieux,
Mm.
France. A week-long retreat on Little Therese and Carmelite spirituality in Lisieux, France. Does that sound good to you, Joe?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds cool.
You're
I
not a
like
huge
that.
Little Therese fan, are you?
I mean, I'm not
I know you
not.
don't hate her, obviously, but
I
you're
don't
not like
like, yeah. I mean, I just not, it's one of those things, it's like a gap in my knowledge. I know a little
cool.
bit from what you and Dodie have forced upon me. Gladly, by the way. It's not bad. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm working on my knowledge area of.
Yeah,
I mean, that's always been a problem is the intelligence that I have.
Joe, you're so funny, dude. Because you said that as if it was really true, like your tone of voice. Okay, look, here's this video. You know I love this video. Can you see it?
Oh yeah, dude.
But you
Yeah.
know I love this part where the Blessed Mother appears to Bernadette Subaru, and then
Why don't
she
you
starts
mute it?
staring.
Because it sounds awful.
Does it?
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Well,
Yeah,
you
you could
messed
have
up.
sent this to me, and I could have,
Next time, dude. This is first time. This was first time. Someday I'll tell the first time story. I wanted to show her reaction where she's
Sorry,
like,
sorry.
there's a modesty thing. It seems to me that's how I'm interpreting it. But the way that this actress acted it, she realizes she's staring too much. And then she looks away because who wouldn't stare? First of all, everybody who's seen the Blessed Mother says she's extraordinarily beautiful. But look how she looks. And then she goes, wait, what? Oops, I shouldn't just be staring like that. I love that look. That's on YouTube, y'all. A little short video of the song Mary Pray for Us or something like that. I don't know. But Our Lady of Lords and that actress did such a great job. Didn't
Mhm.
overplay it, didn't overact it. Really good acting. That's a good movie too if you've never seen it, Joe. The way the nun is just like mean to her, this one nun.
Mm.
That's always been an amazing reality to me that people can enter into monastic life and then become just this doesn't happen often, by the way. A lot of people think, well, not a lot. People in the world think monasteries are just corrupt places because they've watched all these movies. I've been to numerous monasteries, lived in one for 5 years. Most people are extraordinarily virtuous and good people and really trying hard. But occasionally you'll get these bad apples. And that just amazes me. Like, what are you doing there even? Why why would you force yourself in such a rigorous life if you're not even doing the thing? And celibacy. Goodness gracious, dude. What
Yeah, I
uh
feel like there's better ways to be a bad person.
there's better. There comes Joe's intelligence shining through. It's stuff like that, dude. There's better ways to be a bad person. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be doing that one along with cheese on my Whataburgers. That's like Mike Elias's great one the other day. Don't think just because you're Catholic and the church has the fullness of truth, don't think that you have the fullness of truth. Something like that. There's a problem
Yeah.
with we who have the fullness of truth that we think we have the fullness of truth. Okay, let's go to Thomas. We're going to be talking about divine simplicity again. Pars Prima, question 3, Article 5 is where we're headed, but we've got to finish the top of page 31, which is Article 4. We did some of that yesterday in his I answer that part. So let's just start somewhere randomly, see what happens. Therefore, I'm at the top of the page, second line down. Therefore,
Hmm.
since in God there is no potentiality as shown above, it follows that in him essence does not differ from existence. Wow, surprise, surprise. His essence is existence. Ipsum esse. Have we heard that before, Joe?
A couple times.
Yeah. Remember, repetition is the mother of learning. Have you heard that?
A couple times.
That's repetition. So we're learning
Yeah, I did that too. Did you catch that? I did that too.
a couple times. Yeah. Therefore, his essence is his existence. Third, because just as that which has fire, but is not itself fire, is on fire by participation, so that which has existence, but is not existence, is a being by participation. Did you hear that, Joe? That should give you the heebie-jeebies right about now. This is one of those things where I said my joy is not so much the studying, but to go contemplate it later. You can have moments of absolute delicious terror when you fully start to realize, by the gift of the Holy Spirit, of course, you can't do this just on your own. But when you begin to realize what this is saying, just like wood becomes, let's say wood, it becomes hot by participating in the essence of the fire, right? Fire's nature is to be a wee stickle hot. Yeah. Fire
Mm,
is hot. I don't know if that's news to you, but if so, we'll keep repeating it.
yeah.
But fire is hot. So when fire gets to wood and through time it assimilates it, it begins to make the wood hot. And the wood participates in the nature of the fire.
Mm,
So he is saying everything that has existence but is not existence itself. Joe, are you existence yourself?
no,
You're not the source of all existence, are you?
I don't. I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Yeah. And you may be part of the source of your beautiful children's existence, but you are certainly not their efficient cause. You're not
Right.
holding them together in being. If you went the way of Dallas, God forbid, your children would not blink out of existence.
Right.
You're not that kind of a cause for them. But they exist. You exist. I exist. We are not existence itself. So we are participating in existence. And that existence is God. This should give you a realization of how close He is to us and how
Mm,
close we are to Him. Just like the wood is made hot by the fire, the activity of the fire in the present moment, existentially. So also the Spirit of God is moving us right now, and we're participating in it.
so
Then we
is that kind of alluding to the kind of the Genesis verse of image and likeness thing? Is that connected somehow?
image and yes, sort of. Image and likeness is the type of thing we are. We are the type of thing that imitates him or looks like him, but this is more his sustaining power right now. That he is just like the fire is actively making the wood hot, so he is actively holding us together in being right now. We're participating in existence. We are not existence itself. So something is making us exist. We are participating
Mm,
in it. And that's something we commonly refer to as God. Now you could get into the weeds. Of course, this is a flyover, as we've said. And this is repetition so that we learn it better as we go through it daily. That's why it's about the daily, not about the Summa, as our brother Yaakov would say regarding Daf Yomi. So, but we could get into the woods of this with free will, because since God's moving us, how is it we can have free will? Well, Zimzum, he relaxes. Zimzum is at the beginning, but you can still use that term Zimzum in a small way, it seems to me, that he is relaxing his ability to control us so that we can do that which we, the suppositum, I, Craig, would do. Craig acts a certain way, just like we said yesterday, Boromir acts a certain way. And if you were to see a movie with Boromir and a wife beater smoking a cigarette and yelling out, "Hey, bring me a beer," you would say, wait, that's not how Boromir acts. That's not Boromir. Boromir acts a certain way. Craig acts a certain way. Joe acts a certain way. So God relaxes his control so that you may act like Joe.
mm,
It's a gift, even though it leads to, because Joe does not have perfect knowledge, because Joe does not have perfect love. Joe is sometimes attracted to things that are sparkly, that are not really. I love that I chose you. Joe acts sometimes does things that aren't perfect. Would you agree with that, Joe?
with great frequency, yeah.
Okay. And so because of that blindness and fault, that's bad. That leads to bad things happening sometimes. Sad clown. That leads to bad things happening, but God allows it so that Joe can be Joe. If not, Joe would only act the way God sees that is most perfect, and then he would be acting differently. He would be a different sort of person. But then God does allow you through grace and through time to begin to act more like the one that did do everything that God
Mm.
commands,
We
namely
have a
Mashiach, Yeshua.
We have a Facebook comment from Jeremy C. Masters.
Oh, what's up, Germ? Dude, that's Germ. That's my buddy Jeremy.
Dude, let's
What's up?
go. He says, "Re essence and existence. In Him we live, move, and have our being. Kind of like fish trying to contemplate the ocean."
Yes. Fish do not have intellectual capacity to know, but that is what we are. Or you could say beavers on a galleon.
You
Germ,
could
if you haven't been watching, we've got this running joke. Really, it's a thought experiment, a
perhaps I could throw up
metaphor.
some beavers on the screen here.
Do the one that's dark and piratey.
Yeah, let me
We've
find
talked
that.
about beavers on a galleon. We came up with this one night at a cigar lounge. That and then we said it just flippantly, but then we started thinking about it and realized how brilliant and beautiful it is. That beavers on a galleon. You see what the problem, Germ, with beavers on a galleon is? Once we realized the problem, we couldn't stop laughing. Beavers have a compulsion to chew wood. That's their favorite thing to do. And they're stuck out on the wide ocean, far from any forest. And the only thing that's keeping them from sinking into the abyss is wood, especially that mast. When Joe did the AI, he was like, "What'd you type in, Joe? Beavers on a galleon salivating or over the mast,
Hungrily looking at the main mast. Yeah,
hungrily looking at the main mast."
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So we use that reference quite often in the Daily Summa. Beavers on a galleon. We are participating in this thing called existence. And the ground of that existence is that which is commonly referred to as God. But God is his own essence, as shown above, Article 3. If therefore he is not his own existence, he will be not essential but participated being. He will not therefore be the first being, which is absurd. Therefore, God is his own existence and not merely his own essence. This is the bomb thing that is always spoken over and over. Article 4 here. God's essence is existence. He is the act of existence itself. Reply to objection 1, which was so long ago. Larry. Larry is the beaver that is objecting here in objection 1. A thing that has nothing added to it. This is Thomas replying to Larry. A thing that has nothing added to it can be of two kinds. Either its essence precludes any addition, for example, it is the essence of an irrational animal to be without reason, or we may understand a thing to have nothing added to it, inasmuch as its essence does not require that anything should be added to it. Thus, the genus animal is without reason, because it is not of the essence of animal in general to have reason. But neither is it to lack reason. And so the divine being has nothing added to it in the first sense, whereas universal being has nothing added to it in the second sense. Remember objection 1? Let's go to it. Make sure I'm in the right place because we've switched over the page. It seems that essence and existence are not the same in God. For if it be so, then the divine being has nothing added to it. Now, being to which no addition is made is universal being, which is predicated of all things. Universal being is pantheism. They're saying that if if God is existence, then you can't add an essence to it. But Larry, you're flipping this thing. God is not being. I mean, God is not existence. God is not the cosmos, and we put an essence into it. God's essence is existence. It's the opposite. God, his what he is being. Now, what does that mean exactly? As we've said over and over through all of these previous pages, we do not know. It's the via, what is it? The apophatic theology. It's the way of not knowing what God is not. I'm forgetting the Latin term for it. But anyway, we can only know what God is not. Just like we can't know exactly what a black hole is or exactly what gravity is, but we can know things about it that are about it. And that can give us clues, insights into what it itself is. Reply to objection 2. To be can mean either of two things. It may mean the active essence, or it may mean the composition of a proposition affected by the mind in joining a predicate to a subject. That sounds like gibberish, but what he's saying is there's two ways to be. There's the actual act of to be, and then there's our language talking about it, subject and predicate, and talking about it. Talking, taking to be in the first sense, we cannot understand God's existence nor his essence. That's what we've already said. In the first sense, the actual act of to be, okay, I'll give it to you. That we can understand. He's replying to Ralph in objection two. But only but taking it to be the first sense, we cannot understand his existence or his essence, but only in the second sense. We know that this proposition which we form about God when we say God is true. And this we know from his effects. Question two, article two. If you're just joining us, all this is going to not fully make sense. These things build like a staircase, but that's okay, because as time goes on, things will be repeated and you'll understand deeper and more what Thomas is saying on this beautiful journey. Don't try to go back and watch him from the beginning unless you've already watched the live version, because we want everybody together in real time, right, Joe? We want everyone in the room together at the same
Amen.
time. All right, let's move into Article 5, whether God is contained in a genus. Now we come to a really confusing thing probably for most readers, because we use the word genus in a different way than Thomas used it. Surprise. And I had forgotten that. When I first read this yesterday, I was like, wait a minute, what? And then I called Dr. Rebard and texted, and then I looked at something online and it snapped, and I remembered when Thomas is talking about genus, he's talking about um, Aristotle's 10 ways, the 10 ways of Aristotle, which are substance, action, passion, quantity, quality. I brought them up, so let's just read them out. Aristotle's 10 categories. Now, this is a big deal. This is often used in philosophy because it's just a way of kind of getting your thoughts out, sorting out your thoughts in front of you. You know, when I first get to a place, Joe, like this, I take all my stuff out and I lay it out in front of me to do a inventory, and to see what I can get rid of. And recently I'm putting them into different categories so that it can be more straight. That's how we do in a well-run business. That's how we do in a well-run army. That's how we have a well-run campsite. And that's also how we have a well-run galleon. You ever heard the term, Joe, of something being ship-shape?
Yeah, once or twice.
That means everything's really in order and well put together. Because when the storm hits the galleon, you have to know where the things are that you need to get, where the ropes are, where to move. You can't be looking around in a junk drawer trying to find the what's that thing you use to turn the ship?
The helm.
The helm. Remember we had that discussion? I thought the helm. We were all like, I thought the helm was the place you're standing,
Yeah,
not the
apparently it's
actual,
both.
but it's both.
Yeah, apparently it's both. I was confused by that. I'm not sure that's right, but
Me
that's
either.
where I'm at with it right now.
If anyone knows, please put it in the comments. The actual wheel that you turn, the circle, the thing that you turn, what is that called? And then what is it called? The place where you're standing as you're on the helm, at the helm, at the helm. So anyway, the ship needs to be ship shape, and for you to have a clear mind that thinks well and doesn't go goofy like the world has gone, because no one studied these things and they studied modern philosophy and they don't know what anything means. And everybody's speaking different languages. We're back in the Tower of Babel. One guy says love and he means one thing. The other guy says love, he means the other. Up, down, it's all different words or different nominalism, etc. And that's also what we talked about with that I want to say mushroom, but that parable I made up of the king with the wicked advisor who defaces all the signs, and then they put knights around the signs so he can't deface it. And then he goes out to the towns and puts on plays, puppet shows, concerts, and he uses words in a different way to confuse people. So they think up is down, left is right, stop means go. And then now they get, even though the knights are around the road signs that show how to get to the castle with all the sweet meats and the good tobacco and the great hobbit, beautiful life, and the grain and the wine and the oil, they can't get there anymore, even though the knights are guarding the signs, because the people now think left means right and they go the wrong way. That was my parable, and that applies to this. So let's try to get our minds more clear and understand. Once I say this, it's going to seem obvious, but you've never thought about it before, almost certainly, and it's very helpful.
Mm.
Aristotle's 10 categories: substance, the underlying subject or thing. We've already talked about that. Quantity, how much of something there is. Quality, the attributes of something. Relation, how something is connected to other things. Place, where something is located. Time, when something happens. Position, where something is in space. Or its posture. Remember when it said earlier in Thomas, does God have posture? And then he talks about he's sitting, he's standing, so he must have posture. Remember that, Joe?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's what he's referring to. The reason he's asking the question
Mm.
is because posture or position is one of Aristotle's categories.
By the way,
State,
we're at about 31 minutes.
thank you, Joe. State, the condition of something. Action, what something does. And passion, what something is affected by. That's an important realization too. Um, Action and passion are two of Aristotle's categories. Action is something that acts and is moving upon something else, and passion is something that receives an action. So we don't use the word that way nowadays, but it's like a nail, hammer and a nail, like that Paul Simon song. I'd rather it be a hammer than a nail. The hammer is acting, and the nail is in passion. It's receiving the action. That's called passion, to receive the action of the nail. That's why it's called the passion of Christ,
Mm.
because he's being acted upon by very brutish men, and he's receiving it. So Mashiach is flipping Paul Simon's song on its head and saying, I would rather be a nail than a hammer.
Mm.
Article 5, whether God is contained in the genus. Objection 1, it seems that God is contained in the genus. For a substance is a being that subsists in itself. But this is especially true of God. Therefore, God is in a genus of substance. Remember, one of the genus or one of the categories of Aristotle is substance. And we said that a substance, we already said a substance is subsists of itself. Really, God is the one who's holding it all together. But we do say that I'm a substance because I subsist in myself. I have a certain place. I'm a certain type of person, certain type of being, which is human, and a certain suppositum, which is Craig, etc. That's what Larry's trying to say. You've already said that a substance is a certain has being and subsists in itself. Therefore, God, it must be especially true of God, is what Larry's trying to say. And Thomas is going to come along and shoot that down. Reply to objection 2. Further, nothing can be measured save by something of its own genus, as length is measured by length and number by number, but God is the measure of all substances, as the commentator shows in the Metaphysics. Therefore, God is the genus of substance. Um, we'll see more, explain that more in Thomas's reply to objection 2. But God is the measure of all substances. Therefore, he's saying that he must have a genus of measurement of some sort. Thomas says, on the contrary, in the mind, genus is prior to what it contains, but nothing is prior to God, either really or mentally. Therefore, God is not in any genus. In the mind, genus is prior to what it contains. Remember what the genus are: place, time. Place is containing me right now. Time is containing me right now. I have a posture right now. But those things exist in the mind before I did them. Let's say I have a posture of having both hands up, raised to heaven in praise of God. Well, that posture is in my mind right now, but it's not actualized. Now I do it. That that posture came before in my mind before it was actualized. So let's do Thomas's I answer that. By the way, see my beautiful prayer card. Can you see that, Joe? Or is it too dark already or too
Yeah, no,
light
we see it
outside?
pretty good.
All right. That is from my old school, the University of St. Thomas. And this is St. Thomas holding the earth. And he's also holding the chapel at the University of St. Thomas. Pretty cool. That's my little place marker. All right, here we go. I answer that. A thing, here we go with the logical explanation, and it's pretty lengthy. St. Thomas getting a little long winded. The dumb ox beginning to bellow a lot here. I answer that. A thing can be in a genus in two ways, either absolutely and properly, as a species contained under a genus, or as being reducible to it as principles and privations.
Turning of the page.
Turning of the page, sponsored by craigkinsey.locals.com. Okay,
Yeah, dude.
or a being reducible to it. So the thing can either be in a posture or be in a time and place, or it can be reducible to it in principles and privations. Either it has it or it doesn't. He's going to go further on. For example, a point and unity are reduced to the genus of quantity. A point and unity, how much it is, it's reduced to a point or a unity. There's one of the thing as its principles, while blindness, your eyes being blind, and all other privations are reduced to the genus of habit. The word habit can mean a moral habit, like you do things over and over, but also it can mean the way in which the power works, the habit of sight, the habit of hearing. And what he's trying to say is you can have something that's present or you can have something that's absent. The blindness is the absence of the habit of sight. But in neither way is God in a genus. That he cannot be species of any genus may be shown in three ways. He can't be a specific representation of all of Aristotle's 10 categories: length, depth, height, I mean, length, substance, posture, action, passion. He can't be any of those three things. Thomas is going to, of course, say because he is the act of to be itself. He is pure act. But let's read through Thomas and see how he arrives at it. First, because a species, let's say me or this coffee cup, is constituted of genus and difference. I have the genus. This has the genus of being in this place at this time, this length, this height, and it changes. There can be differences in me, differences in the coffee cup, differences in the horses. Now, from that from which the difference constituting the species is derived is always related to that from which the genus is derived, as actuality is related to potentiality. Things move from potency to act. That's what we discussed before in the hylomorphia of Aristotle, which was very important. Hylomorphia. Things move from potential into act. That's what Thomas says when he uses the word movement. We can also talk about one-on-one movements, like a pool ball, cue ball hitting the eight ball, and the eight ball moves. That's a type of movement. But Thomas is using the word movement in a much broader way. Just as I said, as I am moving into old age, every person, a young baby, is moving from childhood, babyhood into childhood, from childhood into adulthood into manhood and old age, and finally into the way of Dallas. So everything is moving. That's what Thomas means. It's changing from potential. The acorn is potentially an oak tree, but it's not an oak tree yet. It has potential. And then we're constantly seeing things move from potency into act. For animal is derived from sensitive nature by concretion, as it were, for that is animal, which has a sensitive nature. the actual animal you see is fulfilling the potential to be that nature, um, with the matter that's within it. Remember, you take two types of food. Let's say you're stuck on a desert island and there's only a limited amount of food. And then you and your beloved dog, you bring your pet, you and your pet, the galleon breaks up and the flotsam and jetsam washes you up onto the shore of this island with just you and your little dog. For the next 7 years, you and your dog eat the same kind of food. You're taking in the exact same matter in the exact same forms, the form of coconut, the form of boar, 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 pigs. Okay, you're taking in the exact same matter, but somehow that same matter morphs into you, and it morphs into your dog through those 7 years. Remember that old thing, Joe, that in 7 years all the molecules in your body have changed and you have completely different matter?
Right.
You've heard that, I'm sure.
Yeah, Elias says it all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fully true. I've never had full confirmation on that. If we could get in the comments full confirmation on that, how we know that for sure, like
Yeah.
scientifically. But anyway, the point remains the same. We are morphing and changing. We go from potency into act. That's the important thing on Thomas's 5 ways. Not that a cue ball hits an 8 ball and it moves. And so you go backwards and there's an original cue guy hitting it, and we call that God. It's that things are moving always from potency into actuality. But I don't want to get totally on the 5 ways now. It's just this plays and will always play into what he's saying. Things are moving. Sensitive natures are going into a concrete reality of this or that animal. Rational being, on the other hand, is derived from intellectual nature because that is rational, which has an intellectual nature. And intelligence is compared to sense, as actuality is to potentiality. The same argument holds good in other things. Hence, since in God, actuality is not added to potentiality, it is impossible that he should be in any genus as a species. In God, God is pure act. So God is never moving from one state to another. That's what Thomas is trying to say. The states are Aristotle's 10 categories, and we move from one to another. My hands are down, now they're up. I'm in a different posture. It's a different time. It's a different place, etc. But for the deity, blessed be his holy name, that is not true. He is perfect act. He is never changing or moving into different ways. Second, since the existence of God is his essence, if God were in any genus, he would be the genus being. Because since genus is predicated as an essential, it refers to the essential of a thing. But the philosopher has shown in metaphysics that being cannot be a genus, for every genus has differences distinct from its generic essence. Being, did you laugh?
No,
Did something happen, Joe?
I don't think so.
Okay, I thought I heard a giggle, and I was wondering if something happened over in your world. By the way, if you're just watching and you don't know, Joe is miles and miles away from me right now. We're communicating through the magic of technology. Where was I? God cannot be a genus, for every genus has differences distinct from its generic essence. Being is not a genus, as we'll see. I don't want to give it away. Now, no difference can exist distinct from being, for non-being cannot be a difference. Non-being is not a difference. Non-being is non-being. If there was ever non-being, we would not be talking right now. That's why you'll always hear philosophers and saying, "Why is there something rather than nothing?" That is, once you realize what that question is asking, it's not flippant. It's very deep and perplexing. Why is there something rather than nothing? There should be nothing. That would make the most sense. But we see clearly there's not nothing. That's why Descartes had to say his thing, I think, therefore I am. He's trying to find a way to prove that there actually is something. That's when we're starting to make a break from what we call common sense. All these philosophers, Aristotle, Thomas, they're speaking in common sense. Think of what those words are. We say words all the time and we don't really realize what we're saying. Common sense is a sense, your eyes, your nose, your hands, your senses, that is common to all. Common sense. I can see. I see things. Common sense. What do we say when someone's gone goofy? We say they need to come back to their senses. This guy, come back to your senses. What happens when someone's really insane? They're going having an emotional breakdown. Sometimes people will smack them. Why? Because their intellect has gone so far off the derech that it's the masculine principle has completely left the feminine principle. And the smack to the face brings you back to your senses. Malchus, the visible world, the feminine principle, so that you can rest in that. That's what is being said with common sense. These early philosophers used common sense. They say, I see a tree, I see a dog, I see a man, I see a woman. This is what my senses see, and it's common to everyone. What has been happening, the satanic impulse is, remember, everything comes first from the philosophers, then down to the artists, then to the media, then to the masses. First, when the devil wants to deceive, just like my parable about the king in the castle and the evil assistant who perverts words so they can't get back to the castle. When the devil wants to get people away from his uh, bitter, his bitter heart wants to get them away from the beloved that he can't love now. Um, he begins to twist how the words mean. That's why modern philosophy is taking you away from your senses, trying to make you doubt your senses, doubt what you're seeing, so that you don't have a common sense of all things, so that you can believe things that aren't in your sensory perception. And then, of course, the atheist wants to say, well, you believe in something that you can't see. We do believe we can't know it. We do believe we can't see it. But by induction, as Thomas said earlier, we are showing that we don't know what this thing is, but we know that something must be pure act to hold this all together. All right. These things are all so tied together that it's easy to just go on a reel. How much time have I got? I'm almost done here.
You're sitting at 48 minutes.
We'll be done before the hour. That's my prediction. Now, no difference can exist distinct from being, for non-being cannot be difference. It follows then that God is not a genus. Third, because all in one genus agree in the quiddity or essence of the genus, which is predicated on them as an essential, but they differ in their existence. They all are similar in that they have the ten uh, categories of Aristotle, but they're different in how they're doing them. You have a different posture than I have right now. Mr. Joe, excuse me. For the existence of man and of a horse is not the same, also as also of this man and of that man. Thus, in every member of a genus, existence and quiddity, i.e., essence, must differ. But in God, they do not differ, as shown in the preceding article. Therefore, it is plain that God is not in a genus as if he were a species, a particular kind of being. But he is not a particular kind of being. He is being itself. From this, it is also plain that he has no genus nor difference, nor can there be any definition of him, nor save through his effects. As we said before, we can talk about what he is not. We see his effects, and we can reason back to what he must be kind of like. And Thomas later is going to go into pure theology, which has to do with this thing that we call God, this big mystery. We're going to assume the premises that that thing spoke to Abraham, spoke to Moses and revealed himself, and then was incarnate in the Blessed Mary's mother's womb, and was crucified, died, resurrected, and ascended into heaven. Um, with that, we can then do theology with those premises. Nor can there be any definition of him, nor save through his effects a demonstration of him. For a definition is from genus and difference, and the meaning of a demonstration is a definition. When you demonstrate something scientifically, you are defining it. And a definition, defining is confining. To define anything is to confine it. I'm saying this is a cup. What is a cup? Well, it's a vessel that has a empty space and things go into it. All right, so then this cannot be a cup because it has no empty space. Once you've defined something, you've confined it. You've stopped this from being this. They can't be the same thing. In God, there is no confining, there is no defining. He is being itself. All of this is contained in him, and he contains all of it. In him, we move and live and have our being, as Germ said, quoting the scripture, obviously. That God is not in a genus is reducible to it as its principle is clear from this, that a principle reducible to any genus does not extend beyond that genus. As a point genus, as that point is the principle of continuous quantity alone, and unity of discontinuous quantity. But God is the principle of all being, therefore he is not contained in any genus as its principle. As I said, repetition is the mother of learning. Remember, Joe, when we watched Gomorrah and how the rabbis are giving problems, and they're not just giving the answer, they're showing their work. They're giving all the ways in which they argued through this final answer. You know what I'm talking about, Joe? Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what Thomas is doing. And that's why I want you all to stick with the Daily Summa. You're not going to learn and grow. This is catechesis and camaraderie. The catechesis is not going to happen. The reason the church is so uncatechized is because we're not daily having our head in these ideas, principles, and then taking them away after study and meditating on them so that they become that crackling, burning, warm fire of contemplation that is represented in our Daily Summa logo with the dove under the staircase from the Song of Solomon. So this thing that we just read, this long-winded mouthful of marbles, all these words, are Thomas showing his work. He's giving every angle to this thing that we already know and have already said, which is God is pure act. He is not differentiated. He doesn't have different genus. He doesn't move in and out of different types of existence. He is the act of to be itself. Let's go to reply to objection 1, which objection 1 happened 10 million years ago. It seems that God is contained in a genus, for a substance is a being that subsists in itself. That was Larry's thing. The word substance signifies not only what exists of itself, for existence cannot of itself be a genus, as shown in the body of the article, but it also signifies an essence that has the property of existing in this or that way, namely, of existing of itself. This existence, however, is not its essence. Thus, it is clear that God is not the genus of in the genus of substance. Just like I have existence, but I have it in a particular way, and that particular way is called a substance. I have the substance of being man or human. The horse, Dallas had the substance of being donkey, etc. Daisy has the substance of being dog. It's a particular kind of thing. Just because that's a subsists in itself, I'm held together as one thing. That doesn't, and God, and Larry saying, God, we've said, if a substance is held together of itself, then God must be the substance of all substances because he holds himself together in being. And Thomas is trying to show Larry, you're messing up the definition. Substances of particular manifestations of being and act. But God is the act of to be itself. He is pure act. He is different than all things, and all things are in him. In him we live and move and have our being. We finished page 32. We're moving on tomorrow to Article 6. Joe, how much time did we do? Are we good? I think we're under the hour. Yeah,
About
4 minutes away.
54 minutes. Yeah.
4 minutes away. All right, Joe, that's it. Any questions? Anything before I sign off?
Let's see. We can give a second if anybody who's watching has any questions. Throw it in the chat, anything like that, or
Yeah,
any
and on
comment of
locals,
any
we're going to start
kind.
doing the Q&A. We'll start doing a Q&A, especially when we're all together again in one room. We'll do a Q&A.
Right.
And we also may just have some chat and hang and stuff. And also on locals for the people who give the $10 a month, I may do some quick videos, like, hey
Yeah.
guys, I was thinking about this that we said today, or hey guys, a little quick thing like that. Those are for the people who give the $10 a month, but that's not now. We'll be doing that soon. All right. I think
Mhm.
that's it, right, Joe?
Yep, sounds good, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is all straw. This is for us to get together and be brothers and study together and communion, catechesis, and camaraderie. Take this, talk about it with your brothers. Take it out on your walk, your coffee shop, contemplate it. Talk about it with your wife. Get the feminine genius. And we'll see you here tomorrow, bright and early, with the Daily Summa. Thanks, folks. Good one, Joe.
By the way, yes, Kyle, I do check that chat. Thank you very much.